The glittering lights of the grand Sterling rooftop bathed the room in golden warmth, where the city's elite had gathered for the annual gala hosted by Liam Prescott. At 32, Liam wasn't just a tech billionaire. He was a symbol of unapologetic freedom. Wealthy, brilliant, and dangerously charming, he was known for one bold belief: I don't believe in marriage. The guests that night came from every corner of high society. Entrepreneurs, investors, celebrities, filmmakers. Some admired Liam, others envied him, but all were drawn to the orbit of his magnetic presence. Among the laughter, sparkling champagne, and soft jazz, Liam stood quietly for a moment, a glass of wine in hand, a careless smile playing on his lips. By his side were his closest friends, Damian Holt, a bold venture capitalist, and Nate Calloway, his personal attorney and lifelong confidant. These three were infamous for their late-night conversations and outrageous dares, bored men with too much money and not enough boundaries. Damian chuckled, raising his glass. Liam, I bet you'll never get married. To you, marriage is just another dull performance. Nate laughed in agreement. Why give up a luxurious bachelor life just to tie yourself to one person? Liam shrugged, his expression cool but his eyes sparking with challenge. Marriage is just a piece of paper. If I wanted, I could marry anyone, right here, right now. Damian narrowed his eyes. Then prove it. Marry a complete stranger, no love, no status, just to show it means nothing. I'll bet you $1 million. Liam laughed. To him, this was nothing but an amusing game, but behind that smile, a flicker of pride and curiosity had ignited. Fine, he said smoothly. Pick someone. I'll marry whoever you choose. Just steps away from the Grand Sterling Hotel, a quiet library sat tucked between aged brownstones, far removed from the city's glittering chaos. Inside, between tall bookshelves and flickering lamps, Elena Rivera worked in peaceful rhythm, sorting returns, shelving new arrivals, and occasionally guiding a patron to a rare title. She wore a simple ivory blouse, her dark hair tied low in a neat twist, no makeup, no flair, yet her beauty radiated from the calm in her eyes, the grace in her hands, and the air of unshakable stillness that wrapped around her like armor. Outside, Liam, Damian, and Nate stood peering through the wide front window. The three men, titans in their fields, watched her like choosing a rare artifact in a private gallery. Damian pointed. Her, the librarian, ordinary to the core. Nate chuckled. Perfect. A working-class girl who probably wouldn't know what to do if Liam asked her to marry him. Liam said nothing. His gaze lingered on Elena, steady, unreadable. Unlike the women who usually vied for his attention, she didn't even glance their way. She simply existed in her own world, and somehow that intrigued him. Without a word, Liam pushed open the glass door. The soft chime of the bell drew Elena's eyes briefly. One glance at his tailored suit and sharp jawline, and then back to her logbook, unfazed, unbothered. Liam walked to the desk, leaning casually forward. I have a proposal. Elena didn't even look up. If you're looking for a book, give me a moment. I'm cataloging returns. Not a book, Liam said with a half smile. A marriage. She paused. Slowly, Elena lifted her head. Her deep brown eyes met his without flinching. No panic, no confusion. Only calm calculation. Come again? Marry me. Right now. A beat of silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, Elena laughed. Not nervously, not shyly, but with quiet, amused clarity. Let me guess, she said, voice steady. This is a bet, isn't it? Between you and those two outside? Liam froze. You knew? It's written all over your face, she replied coolly. You don't believe in marriage. It's in the way you stand, the way you speak, and the way you're looking at me like I'm part of a game. Liam smiled, but something had shifted. She wasn't reacting as expected. And if it is a bet? Elena tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly, her lips curled into a smirk, sharp, ironic. You think I'd say yes just because you're rich and handsome? Liam answered without hesitation. I think you're someone who enjoys flipping the rules. She stared at him for a long moment. Then deliberately, she closed her notebook, unclipped her name tag, and laid it on the counter. "All right, Liam Prescott, if you want a wife, I'll be your wife." Liam blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," Elena said, as calm as if he'd invited her out for coffee. The soft morning light streamed through sheer silk curtains, casting gentle streaks across the polished wood floors of the Prescott penthouse. Perched atop one of Manhattan's tallest towers, the space exuded quiet luxury, a realm designed only for those born or bred for power. On the oversized king bed, Liam Prescott stirred, blinking against the sun. His head didn't ache from alcohol, but from the sheer absurdity of what he'd done. He, who mocked marriage, was now a married man. To a woman he'd spoken to for less than 3 minutes. He sat up, silk sheets slipping down his torso, revealing a wrinkled white dress shirt from the night before. Blinking, he looked around, and then he saw her. Elena Rivera sat by the floor-to-ceiling window, one leg elegantly crossed, a white porcelain coffee cup in hand, her eyes resting on the city skyline. Morning sunlight wrapped around her like a silent halo. She wore his white shirt, slightly oversized, but casually elegant, effortless. She looked completely at home. No confusion, no awe, no sign of a girl who just married one of New York's most talked-about billionaires. Liam frowned. "What are you doing here?" Elena set her cup on the side table, turning her gaze toward him. Calm, unreadable, her voice was light but laced with something sharper. "I'm your wife, of course I'm here." Those words, "your wife," echoed in his mind like a challenge. Something felt off. He got up and approached her. "Don't you think this is strange? We just met last night. Shouldn't you be freaking out?" She shrugged. "Maybe I'm not the type to freak out." "About at least," Liam hesitated. "Shouldn't you act a little more normal?" Elena stared at him, half amused. "You were expecting me to scream, run away, demand diamonds?" "Something like that." She stood, closing the space between them. "Liam, I married you not because I'm naive, but because I have my own reasons, just like you." His eyes narrowed. "What reasons?" Elena didn't answer. She turned toward the bar and poured herself more coffee. Her voice came from behind him, smooth as silk. "If I were really just a poor girl, wouldn't I be panicking right now?" Liam turned to face her. "Exactly. No one stays that calm. You're too composed." She faced him again, cup in hand. Her gaze was clear and oddly direct. "Maybe you picked the wrong girl for your bet." And in that moment, Liam felt something unsettling shift inside him. He prided himself on reading people, manipulators, moguls, models. But Elena was a closed book. Too calm, too sharp, too controlled. He exhaled slowly, as if trying to reset the game. "You really don't want anything from me? Not money? Not fame?" Elena took a sip of coffee, then said softly, "If I wanted your money, Liam, I would have asked for your credit card last night." Liam was silent, not because he was insulted, but because he had no idea how to respond. He was living with a woman he couldn't predict. And that, for Liam Prescott, was the most terrifying part of all. Liam Prescott had never needed more than 3 minutes to read someone. He could size up anyone, an ambitious CEO, a smooth-talking politician, a flirt with hidden motives. He saw straight through people. But Elena Rivera was an exception, and a dangerous one. She was calm, composed, and unnervingly sharp. No cracks, no hesitations. No one could fake that kind of perfection. Unless they didn't have to fake it. Liam started digging. He called an old contact, Ryan Cho, a cybersecurity expert who'd once helped him during a high-profile breach. Ryan could trace a hidden Swiss account with just an IP address. If Elena was hiding something, he'd find it. 3 days later, Ryan called, his voice low and heavy with surprise. "Liam, she's not a librarian. In fact, she's not employed at that library at all." "Then who is she?" Liam asked, gripping the phone tighter. A pause. Then Ryan replied, Elena Rivera is the sole heir to Rivera Global Holdings, a massive financial empire headquartered in Madrid. Her father, Lorenzo Rivera, was one of Europe's most secretive tycoons before his sudden death 10 years ago. But I checked. Her record was clean. Exactly, Ryan said. Too clean. She's been living under a false identity since her father's death. The current controller of the company is Isadora Rivera, her aunt. Ruthless, ambitious, and determined to erase Elena from the line of succession. Liam felt like swallowing ice. Elena wasn't just brilliant. She was in hiding, and for good reason. That night, back at the penthouse, Elena sat curled in the corner of the couch, a glass of red wine beside her, a book in hand. "Who are you?" Liam asked, his voice sharp. Elena looked up, calmly closed the book and set it down. Her eyes didn't flinch. There was no fear. Only stillness. "So you found out," she whispered. "You're not a random librarian," Liam said coldly. "You're Lorenzo Rivera's daughter, the heir to a financial dynasty. You knew about the bet, and you used it?" Elena exhaled, eyes drifting to the window where the city glowed in the dark. "I didn't choose the bet. I chose freedom." She rose, walked to the bar, poured another glass as if bracing herself for what came next. "When my father died, I was 15. Isadora took over everything. No one trusted me. They planned out my future, including marrying me off to Victor Armand, someone they could control. So you ran?" "I disappeared. I built a quiet life, erased my name, lived on my own terms. All I wanted was to be free, even for a little while. Then you heard the bet and thought, why not use it?" She turned, facing him. "I didn't orchestrate it, but when I heard you say marriage was just a game, I realized that game might save me. Marrying me was your escape. Yes, as long as I'm Mrs. Liam Prescott, Isadora can't force my hand. She won't dare challenge someone like you." Liam clenched his fists. He didn't know whether to admire her or feel betrayed. She had played an extraordinary move. "Were you ever going to tell me?" he asked. Elena smiled. Bittersweet, proud, and sad all at once. "I was waiting to see if you wanted to know who I was, or if you just liked the version I played." The silence between them grew heavy. Liam realized what unsettled him most wasn't that Elena had lied. It was that she had chosen him, with full intent. The silence between Liam and Elena stretched for days. They continued the charade, perfect couple in public, but behind closed doors they said little, not out of hatred, but because they had begun to truly see each other, and that made everything far more dangerous. Liam no longer believed Elena had stumbled into his life by accident. She knew what she was doing, and maybe she was still hiding more. But then, everything changed. One rainy night, Liam received a call from a contact in the financial underground. Victor Armand, Isadora's chosen husband-to-be for Elena, was preparing to leak evidence that Elena had embezzled funds from the Rivera Foundation. If that story broke, Elena's reputation would be in ruins, and Liam would be dragged down with her, the fool who married a fraud. He said nothing to Elena. Instead, he began investigating silently. Liam followed the trail. Documents, offshore transfers, forged signatures. It was all too perfect, too clean, clearly manufactured. But Victor made one fatal mistake. He underestimated Liam Prescott. And Liam was ready to play. 3 days later, the Rivera Foundation annual gala opened at the Empire Grand Hotel. Everyone who mattered in global finance was there. Isadora glided in like royalty, cloaked in violet silk. Victor walked beside her, smug, sure of victory. Elena wore a black dress, simple but elegant. When she entered with Liam, cameras exploded. Prescott couple's gala spotlight. Liam leaned in, voice low. "Do you trust me?" Elena tilted her head, eyes sharp as glass. "I don't trust easily, but if you have a plan, I'll follow." Liam smiled, hand never leaving hers. Halfway through the gala, as glasses clinked and toasts rang out, Victor took the stage, microphone in hand. His grin stretched wide. "Ladies and gentlemen, pardon the interruption. I carry documents of grave concern regarding financial misconduct within the Rivera Foundation, linked directly to..." The LED screen behind him lit up, not with documents against Elena, but with a recording. Clear, unforgiving, Victor's voice filled the room. "Once the gala starts, we drop the file. She's finished. One strike, she's gone." Next came bank statements, showing Victor had orchestrated the entire scam. Then footage of him bribing a bank technician to forge signatures. Gasps, murmurs, outrage. Isadora turned to Victor, horrified. Victor stammered, "No, this... who?" Liam stepped onto the stage, hands in his pockets, gaze like ice. "I did." He turned to the crowd, voice cool and sharp. "You might have thought Elena Rivera was a manipulator, but now we all see who the real liar is." He faced Victor, his smile razor thin. "Perfect plan, except one thing, you underestimated me." After the gala, Elena stood alone in the back corridor. City lights glimmered beyond the tall windows. Her hands trembled faintly. Liam approached. Quiet, no words. After a moment, Elena asked, "How long have you known?" "Since Victor talked too much. Smart men don't warn before striking." "And you did all this for me?" Liam met her gaze, eyes no longer cold. "No, I did it for me, because I hate being played. But more than that, I hate seeing someone I care about get hurt." Elena stared at him. No one said thank you, but in that moment, she knew he was no longer the man who entered her life for a game. That night, New York buzzed on like usual, cars blinking in endless streams below, horns echoing off skyscrapers. But inside the highest floor of the Prescott Tower, everything was still. Elena Rivera sat curled at the end of the sofa, wrapped in a thin blanket, eyes distant. The floor lamp cast soft golden light across her skin, shadows folding over her like layers of oil paint on canvas. A glass of untouched wine sat on the table beside her. Liam Prescott stood silently across the room. He had faced scandals, courtrooms, negotiations with billion-dollar stakes, but this moment, quiet, raw, and too real, was the one that left him speechless. He wasn't standing in front of a woman he'd chosen in a bet anymore. She was the one person he couldn't control. He moved slowly toward her. "You're not sleeping?" Elena didn't turn. "I don't think I can sleep after tonight." Silence. Liam sat across from her, elbows resting on his knees. "Are you angry with me?" "No." "Then, what are you thinking?" Elena met his gaze. "I'm wondering why a man like you would do all that. Help me, protect me, expose Victor, not for gain, not for headlines, not for image." Liam said nothing. He looked down at his hands. "Maybe because I'm tired of everything being fake." Elena tilted her head. "Fake?" He looked up. For the first time, his pale blue eyes weren't cold. They were uncertain and honest. "Everything in my life has been a performance. Every deal, every connection, every woman. There's always a reason behind the smile. Then you showed up. You didn't try to impress me. You didn't chase me. You didn't need anything." He paused. "I couldn't read you, couldn't predict you, and instead of frustrating me, it made me feel alive." Elena watched him quietly, her expression softening. "You're saying this isn't a game anymore?" "I never thought I'd say it," Liam said quietly, "but I think I'm in love with you." The words landed in the space between them like a breath caught in time. Elena froze. She didn't speak at first. Then a faint smile curved her lips. "Fragile, but real. I used to think that if anyone said they loved me, I wouldn't believe them. I grew up in a world where love was just a contract wrapped in power and cash." "I know," Liam said. "About what you did, no one's ever done for me. You didn't have to save me. You didn't have to go to war with Victor or Isadora. But you did, and you never asked for anything." Her voice trembled. "No one has ever stood up for me. Since my father died, the world has seen me as a liability, a pawn, a piece to be placed. But you gave me a choice." Liam extended his hand. "And I still want you to choose." Elena looked at his hand. Open, not possessive, just offered. She placed her hand in his, gently. "If I choose you, are you sure you want this?" Liam smiled softly. "This isn't a game anymore. I'm not walking away. Not now. Not ever." Elena shifted closer, resting her head on his shoulder, for the first time letting herself lean on someone else. "Then don't let me go. Not ever." Liam wrapped his arms around her. He didn't say a word, because the truest promises never need to be spoken. It was late, but the lights in Liam Prescott's penthouse still burned softly. Outside, the city glittered like an ocean of moving lights. But inside, the air was still, too quiet, too full. Elena Rivera sat alone on the sofa, hugging a pillow, her hair falling over her shoulders in quiet waves. The sharp edge of her usual presence had softened. She wasn't reading. She wasn't sipping wine. She was just sitting still, holding herself together. When Liam entered, he paused. Part of him wanted to retreat, to hold the distance, to stay safe. But tonight, every defense he'd ever known had fallen. He walked slowly toward her. "You're not sleeping?" Elena didn't turn. "I don't know what I'm supposed to feel after tonight." Liam sat down beside her, not too close, not too far. "Tell me, what are you thinking?" She turned to face him. "I'm thinking, I don't know who to trust, but when you stood on that stage, when the whole room went silent, I knew something. You weren't the man I met in that library anymore." Liam looked into her eyes, his voice low. "Maybe I wasn't that man anymore either." Elena let out a quiet laugh. "Sad. I was raised in a world where love was strategy and trust was currency. When my father died, the first person who said, 'I'll take care of you,' was the same one who tried to sell me into marriage." "Isadora?" She nodded. "She didn't want me strong. She wanted me scared. And I ran. I thought I escaped." She paused. "Then I met you, and I thought you were just another man, rich, arrogant, untouchable, someone who believed in nothing but himself." "Was I wrong?" Liam asked, a small smile, eyes far too honest. Elena studied him, then nodded. "I was. I didn't think you'd protect me. I didn't think you'd stand beside me and expect nothing." Liam leaned back. "I didn't think I would either." "Then why?" she asked. He turned to her, gaze soft. "Because I think I love you." The words weren't dramatic, they weren't elegant, they were real. Elena didn't speak. Her breath caught, and then slowly she whispered, "I always thought if someone said they loved me, I'd never believe them. I've lived in a world where love was dressed in diamonds and contracts, measured in influence and press releases." Liam nodded. "I know, and I don't expect you to believe me. I just want you to feel it." Elena smiled, faint but alive. "I feel it, and that's what scares me." "What are you afraid of?" "That love comes with a cost." They sat in silence. Liam reached out, gently placing his hand over hers. "Then let me stand there with you. You don't have to carry it alone, not anymore." She looked at his hand. The same one that had once offered her marriage as a joke, now held the weight of a promise. "I don't know what love really is. I'm not sure I've ever felt it before." Liam spoke softly. "Then let me show you, slowly, no rush." Elena leaned forward, fingers touching his cheek, eyes glistening. "I want to believe you. And if what you said is true, I'll learn how to trust again." She kissed him. It wasn't passionate. It wasn't perfect. It was honest. When they parted, she whispered, "Don't betray me." Liam looked into her eyes. "Never." A week after that night, the air between Liam and Elena was no longer laced with tension and carefully chosen words. Instead, there was quiet peace, like two people slowly learning to exist together. No rush, no pretending. That morning, Elena made coffee. Liam, instead of reading the paper, as usual, simply stood across the kitchen island, silently watching her. No words were needed. Closeness came not from grand gestures, but in small moments. The scent of coffee, the soft clink of a spoon against porcelain, the way their eyes met briefly and looked away. "There's an important board meeting today at Prescott Group," Liam said, his voice low. "I want you to come with me." Elena looked up, slightly startled. "Me? You're my wife," Liam replied gently but firmly, "not just on paper." She hesitated, then nodded. The black luxury car pulled up outside Prescott Group headquarters, a towering glass structure glittering under the Manhattan sun. Elena stepped out with Liam, dressed in an ivory white minimalist dress, elegant without being flashy. The media's attention snapped toward them at once, cameras flashing like strobe lights. Liam gently placed a hand on her back, guiding her forward, silently telling the world, "She is mine." Inside the boardroom, executives and longtime investors eyed Elena with undisguised curiosity. Who was this woman? But when Elena spoke slowly, clearly, and confidently in response to a question about long-term sustainable investment, skepticism melted into admiration. Liam sat back quietly, a faint smile on his lips. He didn't need to declare Elena's place. She earned it herself. After the meeting, one of the board members leaned over to Liam and said, "She's the kind of woman you should never let go." Liam only smiled. He'd known that for a while. That night they returned to the penthouse late. Elena sat down to remove her shoes in silence. Liam poured 2 glasses of wine, handing one to her. "You did great today," he said softly. "I've just said what I believed in. That's what sets you apart." Elena looked at him. The soft lamplight traced the angles of Liam's face, making him seem less distant than usual. There was something in his eyes. Not passion, not possession, but respect. "Today, for the first time, I didn't feel like I was pretending," she whispered. "I felt like I was truly standing beside you." Liam looked at her for a long time. He moved closer, set down his glass, then took her hand in his. "You're not just standing beside me, Elena. You've become a part of my life I can't live without." "We started as a joke," Elena murmured, "but it doesn't feel like a game anymore." Liam echoed, "We're a team now." Silence lingered, as if both were listening to their own hearts. Then Liam whispered, like a vow, "If you walk with me, I'll never let you walk alone again." Elena didn't respond with words. She just gripped his hand tighter. And for the first time in both their lives, they knew this was no longer a scripted marriage. This was real. The sky over New York was unusually calm tonight. Clouds drifted slowly across the dim expanse, catching the golden reflections of the city's towering skyline. At the top of Prescott Tower, Elena leaned against the balcony, quietly gazing down at the glowing metropolis. She was no longer the hidden cafe waitress. She was Elena Prescott, a woman who had stood through fire, who no longer feared her own name, who no longer ran from the weight of her bloodline. Behind her, the soft sound of the door opening signaled Liam's arrival. He stepped out carrying 2 mugs of hot tea. No wine, no champagne, just ginger and honey, simple, like the peace they had fought so hard to create. "It's all over," he said softly, handing her one. "The court denied Charlotte's last appeal. Gregory's leaving the city and Monroe Group is officially yours." Elena accepted the tea, her heart tight with emotion. Not from victory, but from the sense of closure. An old chapter had ended, so a new one could begin. "I used to think I had to fight alone," she murmured, eyes still on the skyline. "That no one could stand beside me without wanting something in return." Liam said nothing. He simply stood next to her, quiet as a promise. "But then you came. And the scariest thing wasn't being betrayed. It was that, for the first time, I wanted to believe in someone," she whispered. He gently placed a hand on her back. "You don't have to fight anymore, not alone." Elena turned to face the man who had entered her life through a bet. a reckless proposal. And yet he had stayed, not for power, not for gain, but for her. I once asked myself if love could start from a lie, she said. But then I realized it's not about how we started, it's about where we've come. Liam looked at her. His eyes held no arrogance, no indifference, only honesty, and a quiet fear he tried to hide. "Do you regret it?" he asked, "saying yes to that insane bet?" Alina smiled. "If I hadn't, how would I have met you?" They stood there for a long while. No more words. They weren't needed anymore. Months later, a small ceremony. No press, no glitz, no extravagant guest list. Just a vow renewal. Real this time. Between two people no longer hiding, no longer doubting. Elena wore a simple white dress, Liam in a charcoal suit. Their eyes never left each other. When the officiant asked, "Do you take this woman for better or worse, for sunshine or storms?" Liam replied without hesitation, "I already did, a long time ago." Elena squeezed his hand, her eyes misted with emotion. And in that moment, there were no corporations, no past shadows, no games left to play. Only them. Two people, two once misaligned lives, now choosing to walk forward, not for any reason other than true love.